Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today's guest is our 2019 NPC Nationals overall men's bodybuilding champion and new IFBB Pro, Matt Schmidt. Welcome to the show and congratulations.
Thank you. Good to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, big win this past weekend in Miami. God knows people have no idea what you've been through to get to this point, and it's an incredible story, really. But before we get to the story, talk to me a little bit about, what it felt like to get announced as not only the overall winner of the Nationals, but as a new IFBB Pro, something you've been gunning for quite a while now.
To be, I've been training for probably over 15 years now. I've been competing. This was my 10th show. Overcame several health issues along the way, and my dream of getting my pro card actually didn't become kind of a thought until the last, maybe few years, because I always felt like it was so beyond reach. I never thought that I would be able to make it to that level, I guess. Not that I didn't believe in myself. I just, I had so much admiration and respect for those guys in that position, and for it to become so much of a possibility in the last few years, and just to inch closer and closer to it was pretty surreal. There's a lot of guys that get it at a real young age now, and I don't know that they can appreciate it quite as much as someone who's just been grinding for over a decade. I'm still processing it right now.
I went back because you were very familiar to me, and you started emailing me a long time ago, right? Like 2010, yeah. I think, right?
Well, probably earlier than that, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked back and you had asked me questions and stuff like that, and obviously you couldn't have been very big back then. You must have been just starting out pretty much.
Yep. You're always real good at responding. I appreciate that, as busy as you were.
No, yeah. I try to respond to everyone. It's tough, but I do it. Now, the story is, we got to get to the story, and then we'll get to the greatness of the show. But the story is, you had ulcerative colitis back in, 2007 now?
Yep.
And for those of people who don't know that, it's an autoimmune disease where your immune system starts attacking your colon. And obviously it can cause bloody stools, and it could lead to cancer down the road, and all kinds of terrible stuff. And you tell us the story about how it was diagnosed first.
So I was in college, my senior year at Western Michigan University, and I just started getting these symptoms, like you said, bloody stools and the frequency, and I thought it was just a temporary thing. I didn't think too much of it, and it continued to get worse and worse. And then I ended up getting it checked out, and I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. That condition can affect anywhere from a small portion of the colon to the entire colon, and my entire colon happened to been infected. And I tried just about every medication there was up until the last one, where I would go like 3 times a week and sitting there for hours with IVs. Nothing worked. And it got to the point where it was difficult to even leave my house. So it was obviously no way to live. And especially graduating college and needing to get a job, and I couldn't be dealing with something like that. So I decided I went to the Cleveland Clinic, which was probably that and the Mayo Clinic were the 2 top choices in the country to have the procedure done. So I chose the Cleveland Clinic, and I chose to have my entire colon, all 8 feet, removed. And I had a temporary ileostomy bag for about 4 months.
Very similar to what John Meadows had done, I assume.
Yeah, pretty similar, yeah. And so I had that done about 2 years after I was diagnosed with it. And then...
Let me stop you, because you're kind of glancing over it very nonchalantly. This is a major, major surgery with major repercussions. Theoretically, you might not have been able to be reconnected. You might have had one of these ileostomy bags your whole life.
Yes.
How emotionally disruptive was this to you, and how did you deal with this? You're going from a guy who was into training and looking good and taking good care of themselves. Now they're telling you, hey, you got to get your colon taken out.
Very difficult to put into words. Just like you said, that's what the surgeon told me. He said, you need to understand that there's a chance that this doesn't always go as planned, and you might have a permanent bag for the rest of your life. But the condition was that bad to me that I was willing to take that risk.
Right. And when you say bad, how many times a day were you going to the bathroom?
Close to 50. I mean, I literally, if I had to, it was hard to leave the house. And if I did, I mean, I would have to know where every bathroom was at every time. And
wow.
Because the urge, it was unbearable.
Were you getting Clostridium difficile and stuff like that? Were you getting,
getting what?
C. difficile? Were you getting any of those type of bacterial, infections? I know a lot of people with ulcerative colitis can be prone to that,
No, fortunately, didn't have to deal with that.
Oh, good. Now, when you go to the bathroom too, it's not just, it's like diarrhea, it's like blood, it's like everything, right?
Yeah, mucus. I mean, before. Now, since I have 8 feet less of intestines, I still have to go quite often. And, the function of the colon is you absorb the fluid. So I essentially have kind of diarrhea for the rest of my life.
Right.
But compared to how it was, I'm blessed.
Now, when they remove your colon and they give you this ileostomy bag, all the waste product goes in there. You have to empty it. I don't know how many times a day that is. How long did you need to have that bag on?
I would rotate the bag every couple days, 2 to 3 days.
Right.
Probably less because I ate a lot more than the average person. So the surgeon kind of he wasn't used to that aspect of it because, I told him that I wasn't going to stop doing what I do,
right.
in terms of training and eating. And so
now, because you have no because you have no colon, did you have to take certain supplements that to compensate for the lack of the colon?
At the time I did, I had to take iron and stuff. Right now, I take plenty of vitamins, nothing specifically just because I don't have a colon. No.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you find that you have to eat more food because you're maybe not absorbing as much of your food, or you think your absorption is pretty good post surgery?
Right. I think my absorption is pretty good. My appetite is out of control. It's always been excellent. I'm always hungry.
Right.
But it moves through me pretty quick. But I think I absorb it pretty well.
Now, when they had to reconnect you back, okay, I assume that's another surgery, right? That you have to recover from.
I had 7. There was a complication. I almost died the first time as well. Where I had sepsis, and I had 7 surgeries in 12 weeks.
Oh, my God.
Putting tubes up me to drain these fluids, and it was too much to even go over right now. I'll get emotional if I even start talking about it. It was unbelievable.
Did you ever think you'd get back to a bodybuilding stage at some point with all these tubes in you and surgeries and infections and all this stuff?
My surgeon told me that I wouldn't, and I refused to believe that. And I think that's what really helped me get through my recovery. I'm very stubborn, and so I refuse to believe something like that. So
how long did it take for the full recovery from that initial, the removal of the colon and then the reconnection of your, small intestine, so that you can actually start using the, go to the bathroom normally again?
About 4 months. About 4 months. Wasn't too bad. Some people have it longer than that.
Yeah. How do they determine when it's the right time to actually reconnect everything?
I'm not sure, but with all the checkups and the surgeries, he looked at it several times, and I was confident in his decision when he said I was ready. So I wasn't gonna.
Now, are you more prone to infection because of the fact that you have the bag? Is that what the problem is?
Not as long as it stays sealed, but I mean, my intestine is sticking outside of my stomach,
right?
In this bag, so that seal's got to be good. So, essentially, I'm definitely at the time I was more susceptible.
Now, I got to tell you, I don't see any scars on your abdomen. Where did they go in? Where did they go through your nose? How did they do the surgery?
Yeah, they did it well. Combination, they did a good job. I heal well.
Yeah.
And if you go through my social media, you'll see without the tan, it's
Yeah,
a
you got a
lot more
little bit of a
visible.
line. I see it. Yeah, we see it here.
Yeah, and then people will think, oh, he got a hernia or he's got a, lots of different. He got shot. But yeah,
Getting
not many
stabbed
people.
sounds a lot more glamorous than having your colon removed, right? For no reason.
Yeah, so that, yeah.
Now, if that wasn't bad enough, all right, you get back to competing. I remember seeing you at Nationals a couple times. We even talked, like you said. I think I even did a diet for you along the way, right? In 14, something like that?
Long time ago, yeah, you did, yeah.
In 14, I think I did a diet with you. But continually in 15, you were 4th at Nationals. You were 5th at the USA in 16, 17, which is, I think, when you looked your best. You were 3rd in that heavyweight class at Nationals. You were doing really well, and everything was progressing well. And then I didn't see you compete last year, and I was a little. I blocked it out, but I was expecting to see you after seeing you in 17. What happened last year? Tell us.
Prep went great. Went excellent, and I was in the best condition I've ever been in, and I was less than 2 weeks out. So at this point, on my conditioning, everything's just spot on.
Right.
And I was just all I needed to do was kind of cruise in.
Yeah.
And as you know, a lot of competitors will eat vegetables. We don't really count those calories, and I ended up having because I don't have a colon. It's harder for me to digest vegetables, even if they're like the broccoli that I ate. That caused this that I'm about to explain was steamed super soft.
Right.
You think, how could it block you up? And I had my mom steamed a couple heads of broccoli. I went over to her house and I ate those. And throughout the day, I go to the bathroom, like I said, frequently, and I wasn't, which was strange. And then I got off work at 10 p.m. I came home, did another session of cardio at night. And I just was getting more bloated, and I thought that I just needed to flush my system out, and I ate again because I needed to eat, and nothing was coming out, and I felt like I was pregnant. I ran to the hospital, and unfortunately, it wasn't as easy of a fix as I thought. I thought they could just flush it out, and that wasn't the case. I ended up having a blockage, which turned into a perforated bowel. So.
Oh my God! It exploded.
Yeah.
Is that something that happens because of the fact you have there's no colon there? It's like just ends, right?
Yeah. And that was less than 2 weeks from the show, and oh man, all that work that I put in was,
Do you remember when the doctor came back and told you what was going on?
I'm sorry?
I said, do you remember when you're in the hospital waiting, obviously, for the results of whatever test they ran on you? When the doctor came back and told you what had happened, how did you feel? What went on in your mind?
Well, since being what I went through, over a decade ago, that was my first initial thought, like having to have another bag. At this point, I'm almost accepting. I accepted it pretty quickly because at this point I'm just worried about my life at this time.
Sure.
I accepted that I'm not going to be able to compete in this show, but let's make sure I don't die so that I can,
live to fight another day. Yeah, so to speak.
Yes, and so yeah, they stuck several times. It was terrible because they have to do it when you're awake. When they stick the NG tube down your nose and into your throat, Oof. And they're sucking everything out. And it was all green swine. It was all the broccoli, that got stuck in there. And I seen
they sucked it out through your nose.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so I couldn't eat. Imagine not being able to eat for almost 2 weeks. So they had me on these caloric bags. I forget what they're called. I had that stent put in where I lost almost 60 pounds in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because my metabolism was an inferno and not being able to eat, and I withered away. I could almost see myself like shrink. It was terrible.
Well, you were like malnourished, yeah, because your body required so much nutrients at that point from having no body fat on you.
Yeah.
So when did they determine they actually had to do a surgery on you and remove part of your small intestine?
Well, I actually got released maybe within a week of my first submission, and I already knew I wasn't going to be able to compete, so I just wanted to kind of get my body back to normal. My clothes were falling off me, and so my appetite was out of control. I was eating, but I still had this bloat, and I could go to the bathroom a little bit, but I was in so much pain.
Right.
And,
And you're a guy who, like you said, is going a million times a day anyway because you have no colon. So you knew something was wrong, right?
Yeah. I know my body pretty well, fortunately. So when I went back in, I guess at some point after I got released the first time, within those few days is when at some point it ruptured. So they think that if I went another day, they're just saying I was lucky that I went in that day. And that's when they had to perform the emergency surgery. It was real good. It was real discreet since I worked for the local police department. My captain sent over an ambulance. I told him, please, no lights and sirens, because I know how they show up to scenes. And because my neighbors are all real tight-knit, and I didn't want it to be a big scene. So they were great. They showed up, and they all knew who I was, and they know what I normally look like. That was the first time they saw me withered away, and they were great. And then they took me up there, and then they rushed me into the intensive care, and I was in the ICU for a little bit. And when I woke up without a bag, it was an amazing feeling, despite what I was going through. That was my biggest concern.
Oh, you thought you were going to get another bag after all that?
Yeah, because he said there's a slim chance that I'm going to be able to do this without having to give you another bag. Ugh. And I'm just thinking about like another scar and I did get another scar, but another one on top of that, and then having to go who knows how long before I get it reattached. But he was able to take out a small portion of where it perforated, reattach that. And when I woke up without a bag, I was ecstatic about that. And then just slowly, I guess I can't say slowly because I had quite a fast recovery. Because a year later I was able to step on stage and win the overall nationals. So.
Now, what's amazing is that I'm always amazed of modern science, that they could take two pieces of intestine that are no longer connected because they cut out the bad section and reconnect it and not have the thing leak. I can't even get my hose to connect without having a dripping or leaking. How the hell do they do that? How do they suture it so tightly and watertight that nothing leaks out of the thing?
No idea. Unbelievable. Body's a amazing thing, yeah.
Modern science is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Were you able to eat? I assume they probably couldn't eat right away, right? They didn't want that intestine being used, correct?
Well, they wanted me to eat certain things, in which all the things that I can eat were the unhealthy, macaroni, real soft stuff, pasta, macaroni and cheese,
right.
Just like baby food stuff. And but I was just happy to get calories in at this point, and so.
And it worked, and you haven't had any problems, knock on wood, since then?
Knock on wood, nothing since then. So
at what point do you say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to fucking compete next year because you know what? I'm not letting this beat me. I mean, this is almost like, people must think you're crazy that you say I'm going to come back to the stage after this, right?
Okay. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, before I was discharged, laying in the hospital, I knew I was going to be competing next year. I didn't care what anybody had to say about anything. That's what's going to happen, is what was in my head. And of course, coworkers and family members, and you need to stop this bodybuilding. Of course, they think that's the root cause of everything, and little do they know that this is what saved my life, basically.
Of course,
that allowed me to recover the way that I did, but they don't understand that.
Right.
But they don't need to, as long as I know that. And
that's true. Dude, but do you worry sometimes? You say to yourself, you know what? I'm eating 6-8 times a day because I got a fast metabolism. Maybe I'm putting too much of a strain on my intestinal tract. It's weak to begin with,
Yeah, no, and that's why I took it real slow initially.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, like I said, my appetite is just. I'm always off season, during season. I'm never satisfied, so I have to be real careful and gauge myself. But
And you're
think
obviously absorbing the nutrients because look how big you are. I mean,
Yeah.
How long did it take to get that muscle back after you lost it?
Oh my goodness. I messaged John Meadows too to ask about his recovery, because you always like to see how people in a similar situation can rebound from something like that. And he said, you might be back to normal in at least a year. And I'm thinking, man, that's not what I want to hear. That's not good enough. But okay, maybe that he's being overly cautious. And I was cautious, returning to the gym and stuff. But I posted some progression pictures, and some of the comments I would get, they'd think I was, obviously lying, and these are years apart, and there's no way that this and that, or supplement this and that, and they're not familiar with, muscle memory and what the body's capable of going through something like that. But it was every day I was putting on weight, and it happened real quick.
Yeah, so when you heard the new overall champion and new IFBB Pro at the Nationals, and they called your name, that had to be, oh my God, validation, vindication, everything all wrapped up in one. The emotions that must have been inside you. I wish I was there to capture it on video.
And the video, even if you saw it, it doesn't do it justice what was going through my head. Everything we discussed and a million other things, with everything that I've had to overcome and persevere through. All those emotions, were just kind of bundled into that one single moment, and just like a million miles a second, just going through everything that I went through to get there. It was an overwhelming sensation.
And you're also a guy that has a full-time job too, which is impressive as well. Not many people have that,
Well, and that's kind of a modest way to put it, full-time, because I work like 80 hours a week by choice.
80?
80 hours. Prior to taking time off for this trip to Miami, because I work my off days too. I've taken 5 days off the entire year. I've become a machine, and that's like the best way that I can function. I'd get maybe 5 hours of sleep every night, but from the second I wake up to the second I put my head down, it's just go. I live by myself, and I got my dog to take care of. He's like a little child, and taking care of him, and working 8 hours a week, and grocery shopping, cooking, 2 cardio sessions, training, lawn maintenance. Everything, cleaning. Everything that goes along with. Yeah, it's just a constant.
So why do you work 80 hours a week? You just like, you're motivated to make money?
And I have goals outside of bodybuilding too. I bought this house a couple of years ago, and my goal is to pay it off for the next few years. So I'm chopping away at my principal every month.
Smart.
I've always been real good at investing and saving, and so that's another goal of mine. That right now, everyone's asking, "What's next?" Pay off my house. That's a big goal of mine. Do that in less than 5 years. But I'm just a workhorse, and I just feel like I can't be stopped, and I've always had that mentality. Yeah. And it was kind of receiving that title was it just kind of validated
all the hard work you put in.
Yeah.
All the sacrifices you made. All the people who told you couldn't do it or you shouldn't do it. I mean, come on. Right? You're right. At the end of the day, everyone could say, well, we were wrong. He was right. He did it.
Exactly. Yes, that was the best feeling. Absolutely.
Well, Matt, I want to big congratulations, obviously, on the big win. Have you thought about, what you want to do for 2020 in terms of pro shows or anything like that?
I haven't. I've been asked a million times, and just like with all the other shows I've done, I keep it clean in the off season. I'm always in, my abs are always visible. I always train hard. I just, my main goal is to stay healthy, and just. When I get that bug, and then I'm ready to go, and I go from there.
What'd you weigh on stage?
Well, when I woke up for weigh-ins, I was 228, and I needed to be below 225. So I stopped drinking completely, stopped eating, and I ended up getting down to 222 for weigh-ins. So that was
Wow.
my weigh-in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd have, yeah, I mean, you could obviously be a heavyweight bodybuilder out there. You're not going to, I mean, an open bodybuilder, you're not going to go down to 212. So I would imagine that, would you take a year off, or you want to get on stage in 2020?
Can't even answer that. It could go
No?
either way,
All right.
but I'll be ready.
I
I'll
think
be
you should
ready.
compete right in your home backyard there. You got all your supporters, the guys you work with and everything. I'm sure everyone would love to see that, right? You could bring your doctors there to the show and everything.
There you go. Have the ambulance on standby.
You bring all the people who probably can't believe that you're doing so well now, right?
Yes, yes.
You definitely defy the odds. If there are people out there watching who might have similar situations, any advice for people, like in terms of what to look out for, what signs, what symptoms, what testing to get done? If you happen to be prone or have colitis or any kind of Crohn's disease or anything similar to what you had.
Sure. As being a bodybuilder, I think we share a lot of common qualities and characteristics, and I think being stubborn and resilient is one of them. And a lot of times when you see little symptoms like that, you just want to fight through it, and because we're used to just overcoming pain and just driving through it, and it usually working in our favor and getting stronger. But you really got to be in tune with your body and listen to your body, and kind of sometimes have to swallow that pride and not be so stubborn. And if something doesn't feel right, just get it checked out, and then go from there and weigh your options. And because the sooner you catch something, the better chance you have of pursuing what it is that you want to pursue in life. And because all it takes is a day too long, and that can just completely eliminate the possibility of pursuing any dreams that you have.
Sure. Now you beat, not only did you win your weight class, you won the overall, beating out the super heavy, who was in really good shape. What do you think had the judges decide and choose you over the super heavy? What did you talk to anyone? What was your take on that?
Well, I did talk to people. I didn't ask anyone. It was just kind of unsolicited feedback. But it was just, again, to kind of validate. It was exactly what I expected going into the show. I've always had good symmetry and balance, and I've taken down a lot of guys bigger than me because of that symmetry and balance. So I knew that as long as I come in conditioned, I'm not perfect, but I got a real good balance. And so I knew that if I had a fighting chance, that was going to be the deciding factor. And I like this year they had that screen up, so when we hit our back shots, because seeing them, but these guys backstage are 50, 60 plus pounds heavier than you.
Yeah.
You're just like, God, like, how do you compete with that?
You got a
and
good
then you
back,
see
though. You got the best back double bicep on that stage by far.
That's my money shot. Yeah.
I think that clinched it for you, to be honest with you, the back double.
Yeah, I do too. When they tell us to turn around, I get excited, and I love that I was able to see it up there.
So you were actually watching yourself on the screen when you were hitting the back double?
I was, yeah. I try to keep my head straight, but I'm looking up, making sure everything's aligned, and then when they pan across and I get to compare it to other people, and I knew I had that shot.
That's great. Well, big, huge congrats, Matt. You if not anyone deserved the win, you did, because you've been through hell and back, and you emerged on top. Can't be happier for you. Congratulations. Enjoy the victory, and you'll let us know when you decide what you're going to be doing in 2020.
Will do.
All right, guys, and that's going to take us to the end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Matt. Great show.
Yeah, my pleasure. When is it going up?